Hey folks, welcome back. This is a video that I have made a handful of times now, and I keep scrapping it because I have to eat a bit of crow. Because I made this video where I described that I was going to say goodbye to Leica. I was getting rid of all of my Leica cameras because the Sony A7R5 is exactly what I need for all of my street portraits. I had this moment when I was starting to list them for an eBay sale, and I just couldn't do it. I really did like these cameras too much to let go of them. And I started down this process of like, what am I trying to do? Well, first, before I go any further, actually, I should probably introduce myself to you folks that don't know me. I'm Velvet Alfredo. I'm a street portrait photographer. I go out into the world. I just like walk the city streets and I find interesting and unique people. I snap their photo and I publish these fun videos that like hype people up. I think it's fun to see like how nice and wonderful real people are. So often we get kind of bent out of shape that the world is a very bad place. And I try to make videos that showcase that people aren't bad, that people are wonderful. And so that's what I do. If you're interested, check me out on Instagram, Velvet Alfredo. Okay, so, thinking about my style for street portraits, I think is an important place to start with this, because everybody is searching for that perfect camera, like that one camera to rule them all, like it does everything that you need. And I think that's where most people fall off the rails. I have fallen off the rails in the past because of that there isn't one camera to rule them all, because cameras fundamentally are tools. And we should think about tools the way that like a construction worker thinks about tools. If they need to, put a nail in a piece of wood, they're going to use a hammer or a nail gun. They're not going to use a screwdriver or a saw. So you have to pick the tool for the job you're trying to do. And the job that I've been trying to do, or at least I thought I was trying to do, is I'm taking portraits on the street. And just like my surface level reaction to portraits is that, I need subject separation. I need to make sure that the background is out of focus and that the subject is like popping out of the image. I also like to use flash because I like that kind of like editorial look. So I threw that in there. And what was really valuable about this Sony A7R5 was that it has a really strong TTL system, the through the lens flash. So what happens is, the camera in real time is measuring, the distance and the necessary flash power, and it's communicating that to the flash and then firing the perfect amount of flash, as opposed to having to calculate it in your head with a GN number and distance and all that, which is complicated in my case because I only have a few seconds with people. I stop people on the street, and they're doing something. They're on their way to work or, a party or something. And so I only have like 30 seconds. I don't have time to like look at the thing and like try to average out like, all right, I'm 2.5 meters and change the guide number this, change the power to that. And, that's a mess. And so, an automatic system was what I was looking for. And the Sony A7R5 is rock solid in that way. But one of the issues is that sometimes the flash power is not quite as poppy and editorial. It's just like a very average looking flash power. So the image comes out a little duller than I would expect. That was something that I would constantly fight against with the Sony. But the real realization as to what I think I had gotten wrong was the idea that I needed to mix background separation, like background depth of field, and flash at the same time, that I need in a portrait to make sure that the subject pops. I buy that. And there are a lot of ways to do that. It's not just background blur. I'm already using a flash. So if I just concentrated on making sure that that flash was exactly the power output that I wanted it to be, I can make the subject pop out of that image. And in fact, there was so much cool stuff happening on the street that the background blur was probably taking away from that I was literally blurring out the interesting parts of this community. And I started thinking on that, and I was like, hold on. So if I don't need to stress out about background blur, and I can have just like a constant a flash output. And I'm shooting with like almost everything in focus. Let's say like at an F11 or an F16, I can just point and shoot and only worry about framing. And that's where I went back and I said, I should try this with a Leica. And so I spent a couple days shooting with my Leica in that way. And boy, oh boy, did I get images that I'd only ever like dreamed of. That like I was getting that editorial pop. I was getting these kind of like larger than life moments. And I had this really interesting, experience that like with a Sony or any autofocus system, there is the slightest delay when you press that shutter button that it does, it's almost imperceptible, but if you're operating the camera, you can feel it. And I'd get these moments where it's like something's happening and I'd snap and I wouldn't quite capture it. I was like a millisecond delayed. And I found with the Leica M11, because it's manual focus, I'm just snapping and I'm getting it. I found this energy in my images. There's this one particular set of photos in this video where like I caught this crew of guys walking and they were like a ball of energy. And I kept capturing all these moments that were like just exactly, I was capturing exactly what I was seeing. And I caught all of that energy in that moment. And I was like, man, I don't think I would have captured this with the Sony. And none of this, just to be clear, is all cameras these days are fantastic. I'm not taking anything away from these cameras. The Sony a7R5 is probably the most competent camera I've ever used. It's like an incredible video camera, an incredible stills camera, 60 megapixels. I have no complaints. But with a Leica M11, I just felt like it was the tool getting the job done. And reevaluating my style, that I don't need a shallow depth of field. If I needed a shallow depth of field, which is what I was using, let's say 3 months ago, I would have to figure out, I'd have to be manually focusing in real time and dealing with all of the, flash output settings. That's a nightmare. And that's exactly what I didn't want to use the Leica M11. Like the Leica M11 is the wrong tool for that style. But as soon as I realized that I can go F16, basically set it and forget it, basically use it as a point and shoot, the world opened up. And this became exactly the right tool. And on top of that, this is dramatically lighter than the Sony a7R5. That this is a bigger camera. Even when you take the flash off, it is a bigger, heavier camera. And the Leica M11, you're pretty nondescript. When I've been out on the street wearing just the Ray-Ban Meta glasses and the Leica M11, it's like I'm not carrying anything. Like it is such an easy to use setup that I could go out to dinner like that. I don't have to have like a camera bag and gear and batteries. And speaking of batteries, that's another thing, that the Leica M11 battery is incredible. It lasts all day without fail. The Sony a7R5, in certain situations, that battery will drain a bit faster. And I always have like 1 or 2 batteries on me just in case. But the Leica M11, I shot a wedding recently with a Leica M11, 1 battery. The whole day. It was phenomenal. Like the flash loses battery faster than the actual camera. So, it's just one of those, I don't worry about this camera. I don't think about the settings. I'm very rarely even touching the lens. The only thing I do sometimes is I go from like an f16 to like sometimes like an f8, f11 split if I'm farther away from the subject, because I'm going to get like the full fit. Like if I'm going to see like the full outfit, shoes to hat, let's say, I'm going to open up a little bit, because I generally don't screw around with the flash settings. I just leave that at about 1/4. And this flash, by the way, this flash is awesome. I'm going to make a video about this flash, but this is the Godox IM30. And it is totally manual. I just set it at a 1/4 flash power, and I set f16. I generally shoot at either ISO 400 or ISO 800. I'm at 1/80th shutter speed, and that's it. And I just rock and roll. And I've never been happier with my images. And the camera doesn't make the images, like, let's not get it twisted, but like the tool lets you work. Like that's the thing, is the tool is letting me work as fast as I'm thinking, as opposed to kind of like stressing out about is the tool doing what I want? And I found that even though the A7R5 was incredibly reliable, the flash output through TTL was a variable in that, like, it wasn't giving me the pop that I always wanted. And when I'm taking the background blur out of the picture, then the Leica M11 all of a sudden becomes this incredible tool for me in my very specific use case. And I think that's what if you're watching at home and you're wondering, like, is the Leica M11 right for me, or is really any camera right for me? You really have to examine, what are you trying to do? Because if what you're trying to do, that affects the tools you pick up. Like, pick up a hammer to hit a nail. Pick up a screwdriver to screw a screw into the wall, right? Like that's how you need to think about it. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys. I realized I felt like I needed to be transparent about the fact that the video that I made, where even though I loved the Leica M11, I was letting it go. I realized that video is no longer true. And so I should make an update to explain to you guys, like, why I changed my mind. And it really comes down to style. And not to break anybody's hearts, but I bought a second Leica. I bought the M11P, which I just like having backups. I shoot professionally, so I can't have just one camera. And so the Leica M11P, I picked that up right before all of the price increases. So I dodged a bullet there. But hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions, please say so in the comments below. I'm happy to answer them. I'm in all of the comments. And if you have enjoyed this video, please make sure to like it, and please subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I'm making a lot more videos these days. So make sure to subscribe so that you can watch all of them. But I'm Velvet Alfredo. I'm a street portrait photographer, and I really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks.